A good afternoon from my side as well. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Okay, good. I heard very good things about today, so I hope I can go into same trends and give you some inspiring insights in 20 minutes, which is awfully short. But what I want to do is I want to share you some insights indeed that we have gathered in our research of the last 2 years on how to implement change in a successful way. Now, what you will see is the model we developed. It's called the 6 batteries. A battery. What does a battery remind you of? Energy. And energy is key, as you will see. It also rhymes, right? Now, why is the link there with gender balance? Well, we believe that implementing gender balance should be treated as a real business case. It requires change management. It's not enough to start some projects at the border of an organization, hopefully that when you create some women communities or some mentorships, that change is going to happen. No, ladies and gentlemen, because change today is what we call an integrative, inclusive process. And I want to share you, now look at that. That's probably the youngest one I've ever had in my course. Oh my God. Thank you very much. Wow. Okay. Now, before we move on into that topic, I'd like to see who's in the room. So please, can you raise your hand if you're female? Oh my God, that's also probably the most I've ever had. If you're male, where are these lonesome people? All right. If you're doubting anybody, no? If you're happy, who is happy? Can I see that? Okay, great. If you lead people in your organization at the moment, if you have a team, can I see that? All right. If you find the woman or the man left or right of you attractive, anybody? There is a section, right? If you have kids, if you don't have kids but you would like to make some with the woman or the man left or right, anybody? Nobody? Okay. That if you think most people like you, wow, that takes a long time. If you have a certainty you're intelligent, if you think you're intelligent, all right, and then if you think your company does well on gender balance. Yeah. And then finally, if you know a lot about change management, anybody? Yeah? Okay. You don't dare to anymore. Okay. Now, I'm going to structure these 20 minutes in using the golden circle that you know from Simon Sinek. So I'm first going to explain why would he talk about gender balance. It's going to be very short because you guys know why. But then I'm going to show you how to implement that successfully in an organization using the 6 batteries. And I'm also going to show you what you should do as leaders to make it happen, right? All that in the next 18 minutes. Now, why should it be important? You know. Because 60% of all the graduates are female. They are an important element in the talent pool. And 80% of all the people working are women involved in the purchasing actions of companies. They determine customers. And on top of that, we know that diversity has a one-on-one correlated effect on performance. So there is a lot of business sense to be made. But also, in case you might forget, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the 21st century. And here, topics like inclusiveness and integration are key elements of successful systems. So the why is pretty easy. And the why in gender balance is translated now into topics I'm sure you have heard today lots and lots about. It's topics like business opportunity. We're not talking about women's projects, we're talking about business opportunity. We're not talking to women as a community, we talk to the majority of leaders. We're not talking about end goal as equality, we want to have competitive advantage. You know these things. So there's the why. But now the how. How to do that. 6 batteries model. That's what we developed. Now, I could give you the model, right? That would be easy. You say, oh, let's go. I'm going to ask you to make the model. So 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes with the person next to you. I'm going to give you the 6 batteries that we have found in the research. I'm going to give you the framework. I'm going to ask you to put these batteries on the right place. So the batteries are this. First, there's action planning and implementation, which is project planning. Then there is powerful top management with a very strong ambition. An ambition is a vision with energy, right? Then there is the battery of culture and climate, which is obvious, I think. The battery of powerful management systems, and the battery of connection with employee. Systems is all the procedures you have, the context, the hardware, the software, and the connection with employees is, are people feeling nice? And then finally, the battery of strategic orientation, how to get where we're going. The framework is this. There is a rational part on the top, an emotional on the bottom. Left is more strategic, top corporate, and right is more operational, local. What I would like you to do is put all these batteries in this model. 2 minutes, please go. Oh, sorry for that. I was just saying there's an issue with this thing, and then there's an issue, of course. Okay, did you have that? Okay, so let me go back. I'm struggling this here. I was just saying that we should change these things. Okay, so left side, top, I hope you had a strategic direction. Yeah? Meaning knowing where to go and how to get there. On the top left, you have to have a top team that is very, very assured on what to do. Creating an ambition, not a vision. Ladies and gentlemen, visions and missions are not very motivational. Gallup, Towers Watson have proven that. Ambitions are, right? On the right side, action planning and implementation. How to do a project implementation. Prins 2, PMBOK, PMI, all these elements. On the right side, people need to like it. Connection with employees. Top, bottom, you need to have systems that are aligned with your strategy and your implementation. In the middle, at bottom, culture. There needs to be a way of doing things that's aligned with the top team's ambition and the people individually. Now, in itself, it looks easy, but what is special about this is these 6 batteries are set like a serial connection, meaning if one battery is empty, your change will fail. And that's what we will write down in a book. We're writing a book about this, which we'll publish this year. We have proven in the research that all the 6 batteries need to be adequately changed and charged in order for your change to be successful. So if you guys want to implement any change, if you want to get gender balance to become impactful, you'll have to look at strategies, systems, implementation projects, top team, culture, and connection. Now there is what we call an integrative, inclusive approach. Change is not anymore a stepping plan. Change today, change management is something that happens a lot of stuff at the same time with a lot of integration at the same time. And leaders today are the ones who create the context, the environment where that can happen. And listen carefully. They create a context where you can rationalize the emotions and emotionalize the rationality. Let's say that again. They create a context where they can rationalize emotions and emotionalized rationality. Now, let me drill to that a little bit. If I look at gender balance, and I would look at each of these batteries, which you already saw a little bit. If I look at the top team, then gender balance should be an element on the agenda of the CEO. It should be part of the agenda of the executive team. And the executive team should be very clear about it and should be very ambitious about it. But it should also be part of the strategic agenda. It's not enough to put it on the side of a corner or somewhere in companies. It should be a strategic pillar for the company. If you look at the powerful management systems, we want you to create systems that support your vision and support your project. We quite often see in the companies systems that go completely against what you say on stage. You speak simplicity, people go back to their desks and they see complexity. You talk about diversification, and what you see on the desk is nothing else but working in silos. Yeah. If you look at the action planning, make sure a senior person runs the project, not somebody who is hidden in the company. If you look at connection with employees, make sure you train people. People are rather competent than incompetent. Incompetent people are very, very resistant to change. And finally, create a culture where it's easy to talk about gender, where it's easy to talk with another gender. I think the session before, if I'm not mistaken, was about this bilingual skill, right? True? And it was a good one, I think, yeah, for those who were here. So, strong leadership is what we need. Now, the strong leadership, I have tried to put that into the 10 commandments of leadership. Not that I want to make a statement or something, but I thought it was a nice thing to do it like this. So the first thing as a leader today is make sure it's clear to everybody. Now, clarity, ladies and gentlemen, is a very difficult thing. Let me do a 1-minute exercise about clarity with you. Can you please look around in your room at this moment and memorize, don't write it down, just memorize, don't shout it, memorize 5 things in this room that are red. Just memorize 5 things in this room that are red. And you should be able to see them. So don't say my pencil in my bag or something. Just things that are red. Right? Now, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Don't worry, that's not going to happen. Please close your eyes. Please close your eyes. And take a pen, or take a pen and something to write. Maybe you should open your eyes first then, if you didn't do that yet. And put your pen on a paper, ready to write. Okay? And when you're ready, then close your eyes. I'm going to ask you to write with your eyes closed and write down 5 things in this room that are blue. And don't open your eyes, just 5 things in this room that are blue. Please also write down the color of the chair you're sitting on. But don't open your eyes, of course, And please write down the shape of the windows at the back of the room. And finally, write down the number of people wearing glasses in this room at the moment. Yeah, you can open your eyes now. If you look at your paper, did you feel or did you write down 5 blue things? Did you write down the right color of your chair? No? There, the windows are round. Yeah. And what was the last thing I said? The glasses, there are many. Who wears glasses at the moment? Can I see that? Okay. So, clarity, ladies and gentlemen, has nothing to do with more communication. Clarity has to do by knowing what have people heard and seen, which is a very difficult thing because we all look at the world differently, right? Second thing here is a top team should act as a band of brothers. You can't implement successful change if your top team is not a band of brothers, and in your case, I would call it a band of sisters. Yeah? I call it a Band of Brothers because it's a movie. You might have seen the movie Band of Brothers. That's the way we call it. But it's imperative, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely crucial that when you integrate change, that the top team is one entity. You should back up each other, you should support each other, you should have one voice, one message all the time, everywhere to anyone. One crack is felt in the organization. All right? Number 3, connect with people, but mostly explain them why you do it. Not from a perspective of the organization, which most companies do, but from the perspective of the people. Again, people are rather competent and incompetent. And people don't change because they see the light. People change because they feel the heat. It's not because you give them a nice story that they're going to change. People change because they want to. People change because they feel there is energy, but there's also some heat going on, which makes them change. Number 4, create a context where people are helped in their change. As I already said, a lot of times we see context where people are actually counteracted with their change. They are resistant with the change. Ask yourself the question, how can I create an organization where working with gender balance and gender equality is almost or becomes almost obvious? How can you change your processes? Maybe even your software, your systems, your physical working environment, where it becomes easy, where it becomes obvious. Now, context is a strange thing. Who has been on an elephant in his life? Yeah, okay. How was the feeling of having a 6-ton animal between your legs? Did you have the feeling of control? No. It's a big 6-ton animal and you're sitting on top of it and it does what it really wants. Now, a very strange question. Have you seen an ice cream along the path being on the elephant? Yeah, a strange question. An ice cream.
Yes. No, I did not.
No, you did not. No. Anybody who saw it during the path? No. You will never see that. You know why? It's not too small. Elephants crave ice cream. They are crazy about it. Now, if you would be on an elephant, this is you on an elephant. I made a drawing. This is you on the elephant, see? You're sitting on top of the elephant, and then there is the ice cream. If the elephant smells the ice cream, what does he want to do? What does he want to do? He want to eat it, and he follows it. He goes, he leaves the path. Now there's you sitting on the elephant trying to stay on the path and try to hit him. Will that work? It won't. No? And the reason is this, ladies and gentlemen. The metaphor using here, it comes from the book from The Happiness Hypothesis from Jonathan Haidt. The metaphor here is the rider on the elephant is you, the brains, intelligence. The elephant is a metaphor for the emotions. And remember this, emotions of people always choose for short-term satisfaction. Rationality is painting a long-term satisfaction. And guess who wins? Now you could say, oh, that's a pity. But there's a third element. You see these red lines? Those are fences. The fences prohibit the elephant from reaching the temptation. And so we come to the 3 elements that determine change today. There is rationality. There is rationality, which is, sorry, you want to take a picture? I'll go back. There you go. But you get all the slides anyway. Okay. Picture, yeah. So there is a rationality, which is knowing what to do. I'm sure gender balance, as I already heard from Tabby, there are lots of studies about it. People know. But then there's the emotion of every day. The emotion of the moment is determining your behavior. Now, the third element where companies are not scoring very well is this context. How can you create an environment where it becomes easier to do it? where it helps you to overcome the battle between emotions and rationality, because the emotions win. And that context helps you to create change in a successful way. Rationality, emotionality, and context together. And therefore, we ask often, before you start moving into a project on change and shouting and being on stage and creating a lot of fuss about it, first create some context, first create some elements, some examples if you want, where gender balance has worked very well, where it has improved the performance. Use it as an example and then talk about it. Try to create first a part of the context and then bring the message. The reason is this, ladies and gentlemen, people change much more easily when they have an experience. That works much better than when you talk about it. See and feel and change works much better than analyze and think and change. Right? Now, number 5, you shall educate, you shall coach, you shall stimulate, but you shall not tolerate. Stimulate, but don't tolerate. You cannot integrate change when you allow people to still do the same as before. We call that the non-negotiable ruling. You need to set barriers. You need to say to people and make clear, listen, we'll give you as much as we can the opportunities, the tools, the means to do what you need to do. Maybe you can fail even, but we cannot allow not to do it. Stimulate, but don't tolerate. Number 6, you shall manage the stability next to change. When I do a keynote solely about change management, the title is always why stability management is more important than change management. A lot of companies today think that change needs to go fast. We know, and we can prove, fast change mostly goes very slowly. So you need to manage stability, okay? Meaning you should try to create what we call moments of organizational silence. This is how companies want to change mostly, very quickly, and then mostly they fail because they are too quickly and the people get very tired about it. Try to change like this. A change project and then business as usual. A change project, business as usual. How to do that in practice, we could show you and we could easily talk about it, but not in these moments anymore. Number 7, you shall show courage. Maybe an easy thing, but change is never easy. And I hope I don't offend you, but sometimes in the long course of 3 days of change, we call that management by cojones. Which doesn't really apply to this audience, but you know what I mean. Because creating a culture of courage is a necessary context to be able to do change. Right? It's not easy. It will require difficult decisions and difficult approaches. Number 8, a no-brainer. If you want to have energy in your organization, if you want to change, if you want to see change, do it yourself. And really, don't do it a little bit. Be disruptive. Number 9, you shall act upon it. There is a big difference between self-perception and perception by other people. Managers, if you talk about their perception, I know I have to quit, thank you, that's my timekeeper. Self-perception, 2 elements, action and intention. What determines most of the self-perception of people is their intention. But if you look at perception by others, what people use for the perception about you is your action. So act upon it. We would even dare to say use prototyping. Don't think too much. Try it. Fail fast. Learn from it. Move on. And finally, you need to trust them. You need to allow people to be entrepreneurial, to make mistakes. Try it. See what happens. Do it again. But trust people that they know what to do. And if you do this, all these 10 commandments, then I'm sure that you will see one thing that I'm convinced of myself. It is that if you use gender equality, you will contribute to the progress of humanity. Thank you very much for listening.